Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos, two knockout artists back in the strawweight division. This is Jessica Andrade's return to the strawweight division since the last time that she held a title, I believe, against Rose Namajunas. This is going to be a really fun fight, folks. We got a move forward attacker in Andrade, a backward sniper in Lemos. Should be a fun one. Folks, my name is Derick. I'm going to be your host for the next 90 minutes or so. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ, brother. Hey, we got a banger on deck, my man. This is probably one of the most lucrative, probably one of the most exciting women's strawweight bouts that we have, seen. That's not a title bout that we've seen in quite some time. I don't even know how to put it in words. That's how excited I am for it, brother. How are you feeling right now? How pumped up are you for this bout?
Bro, you were correct, Derick. We got some heavy hitters. We got knockout artists, and they're in the strawweights, man, 115-pound division. These two girls, man, I was doing a little breakdown for these absolute savages in the ring. This is one of those main events that we get very excited for, especially being women, man. I love the sport evolving as always, man. I'm feeling great about this one. Super excited. There's some serious heat on this card coming up. How you feeling, brother? How you doing?
Well, I'm feeling good, my man, because this isn't just a strawweight bout that we're excited for. This is not one of those top-heavy cards. We have bouts from bottom to top that are going to be bangers. We have the return of Tyson Pedro, and if you don't know who he is, the man has lost last fight in 2018. Light heavyweight knockout artist who also has some legit submission chops on him. Can grapple, can knock you out. It does not matter. We have a couple people returning back to the UFC who recently have been cut, because a lot of people have been on that chopping block, but they're back in action, brother. We have the Chase Shermans, the Ike Villanuevas of the world. Arichi Lang is fighting, brother. Come on, my man. Felipe Lins. We got some bangers on this card. But AJ, I did want to just ask you. I know that Amanda Lemos has more or less become more of a favorite in your eyes, just in terms of her striking capacity, man. No one cracks at 115. Aside from Andrade making a return, no one cracks like Amanda Lemos, right? So we've seen her in action against Angela Hill in her last bout. Controversial ending, but we're not going to talk about that. Against Lavina Souza, against Mizuki Inoue. We've seen her really put the hands on people. When it comes down to this matchup right here, AJ, we're obviously going to break this down in depth in just one moment, but I just want a quick take on you. Do you think that there is a possibility Lemos is being fast-tracked just a little bit too much, man? Jessica Andrade is a former strawweight queen. She slammed Rose Namajunas on her head and then got a split decision loss in the rematch when, she was trying to defend. So do you think she's maybe taking a step up a little too fast?
I could see why the pause for concern for sure. There's always said, man, there's levels to this game, and Andrade is one hell of a level step up. And don't get me wrong, her Lemos' opponents have been top notch for sure. But Andrade, man, stepping down from the bigger weight class, coming in with all that power, all that head movement she likes to roll with. It's going to be a very big challenge for Lemos. Maybe not as meteoric of a rise as like a Kyle or a Chris Daukaus or either of the Daukaus brothers, where it was almost a little too fast for them. And not as slow as a Tom Aspinall, but somewhere in the middle. I can see the pause for concern, but I think Amanda Lemos might be up to the race, man. What do you think?
Well, I think that's what makes these fights so exciting, is that we don't know. We don't know, but we're sitting here and we're speculating and we're thinking this could be the big step up, maybe too big of a step up, or she could prove all the doubters wrong, knock out Andrade in incredible fashion, submit her, decision her, either way. There's endless possibilities in the sport of MMA, which is why I believe we love it, folks. But in other news, before we jump into the main event, because we have other things that we need to talk about, UFC veteran Clay Guida, he looks to surpass Diego Sanchez and tie Damian Maia, the legend, for the 5th most fights in UFC company history. 33 career fights against Claudio Puelles here at UFC Vegas 52. Now, there's a little bit of additional pressure on the back of the veteran, the carpenter, Clay Guida, because not only is he looking to make history right here, tie for 5th place for most fights, this is also the last fight on his 4-fight contract. The man is 40 years old, and this fight against Puelles is going to determine whether he's going to get a contract renewal at the prime age of 40. Not many people can do it. Lest we forget, Matt Brown is over here talking about, oh yeah, I'm feeling 40-something years old, man. I think if they put me on another 8-fight contract, I think I'll be good. Now, there's what we want, and there's what will happen. Obviously, we got to feel some way that the New Mexico native himself, AJ, my man, big fan of our guy Diego Sanchez, but he's being surpassed here. Clay Guida is not a bad man to do it. What do you make of this situation, brother?
Man, I'm excited for Guida, man. I think, if you've been in the game that long and put the hours and the miles in that man has, it's only respectful to keep him fighting as long as he wants to. And even if this is the last fight on his contract and he gets the win or he gets the loss, I think it's going to be a challenging opponent either way and a good fight. So, can't be mad at it, even though he is surpassing the homie. But, that is what it is, man.
In terms of the pressure situation that we have on our back right here, do you think that this may potentially turn into you lose and you get bumped to the PFL, you get bumped to the Eagle FC? I mean, for Clay Guida, it's hard to imagine him anywhere else aside from the UFC currently, just because this band's been such a staple. But what are the odds of that happening? What do you think?
It's hard to see for me. I'm holding the odds pretty low. I mean, nothing's impossible, and we've seen Dana White, cutting a lot of people, but maybe he's learned from the fact that you don't cut everybody, so then you got to rehire them back in with a little bit more bargaining chips on their side. So what do you think? Do you think he's getting cut, or the possibility of him getting cut?
Well, listen, brother, I just watched Jeremy Stephens lose to Clay Collard on PFL last night, brother. So, I mean, I think anything is possible. And with that being said, folks, let me formally announce it. Jeremy Stephens did drop his PFL debut to Clay Collard. It was a fight of the year type performance, war of attrition, 3-round decision loss, man. But they brought it, man. So I definitely can see the PFL as a new stomping ground for the Clay Guidas of the world if he were to not be in the UFC anymore. And I do think he might be able to win himself $1 million over there, brother. So I mean, not all is lost, I guess we should say. Folks, before we move on, drop a like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. I do want to formally announce that we have made it to 360 plus subscribers. So slowly but surely, we're building, we're getting there. We're getting to where we need to go. We're clearly on the track to get to our 500 subscriber goal by the end of the year. So as long as we keep pushing at a steady rate, let's bump up to 400 first. You know what I mean? Slow progression, step after step. Let's not think 5 steps ahead. Drop a like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, all the fun stuff. AJ, brother, when you're telling your homies to hit you up or hit up the show, right? You tell them, hey, man, we were doing all this in-depth picks. I'm sure the people are hitting you up. Oh, I know you do that show or X, Y, and Z, da-da-da. Who you got on the fight this weekend? Hey, go hit us up. Or are you telling them, hit us up at Spotify? Are you telling them, hit us up on YouTube? Are you telling them to go to the website, brother? Where are you telling them to go?
Man, I push them right to the website, bloodywaterpodcast.com, because I know multiple people like to listen in multiple different ways. I've talked to a lot of people where they're like, man, I have insomnia. I'll listen to anything at 3 a.m, and I try to take it as not an insult that you're falling asleep listening to us, but either way, you're still getting the show in. And but there's multiple options. You can choose the Spotify, you can choose the Apple Podcast, you can hit us up on YouTube. Either way, it's all at the hub, and I feel like that's the best way to get it going. A couple clicks of the button right there off that Google, man.
Well, listen, brother, I'll take it as all love. If you can fall asleep to the melodic tones and melodies of our voices, I'll take it as a win, brother. All right, so you already know where to go, folks. www.bloodywaterpodcast. Come on, what am I doing over here? bloodywaterpodcast.com. You know where to go, folks. All right, AJ, before we move on, we need to take care of a little bit of business. Poster review time, brother. And listen, I'm not mad at this poster. Amanda Lemos, Jessica Andrade. You got Lemos on the A side, which I find a slightly surprising, sliding the former champion a little bit, but it's okay. Jessica Andrade on bottom. Both of them are mean mugging. You got the blue tints to the face. It's a very plain background, man. You really ain't got nothing back there. It looks like the Getty images that they use when they're doing the fighter poses, and they're just squaring up and all that fun stuff. But either way, man, I do think this is different. This is unorthodox, but in a good way. So I'm going to be charitable here, AJ, and I'm going to go with an 8 on this one, brother. You know what I mean? I'm going to be charitable, like I said. What are you seeing, and what are you giving this poster review?
Rating them real high, man. No, I like the innovation in this one, man. That I'm not a big movie or a comic book guy, man. But I remember there's a one from The Watchmen, Mister what's his name? The blue.
Oh my, that's the way that
either way,
yeah.
they're looking blue. I remember seeing it one time when I was a lot younger. But either way, looking blue, looking scary. I like the new look.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan, thank you, bro. I knew you'd know. But either way, man, I like the small small font on the name and then the big name for the last name. I mean, I like this one as well. I was gonna go a 6 at first, but I'm feeling a little charitable as well, Derick. I'm gonna go with 7 for him.
All right, right on, man. You see, and Dr. Manhattan, brother, one of his famous lines is, "See the way that I perceive time." That's his hype that he's on, so that's the way that I can remember. But absolutely, Watchmen, great show, great comic, great movie, all that fun stuff. Listen, AJ, I also want to give you a heads up. I got a little preview on what some future posters are going to be looking like. So let's just say this is going to be the best one you're going to see in quite some time. All right, so with that being said, folks, we have an 8 on the board for me, 7 on the board for the poster, and now let's move into some sleepers. Why don't we?
It's time time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, AJ, we got some fun sleepers on deck, and I want to start off with yours first. You have a fun bantamweight matchup between Richie Lang. He's making his return. Now, let's just say that he was highly touted coming into the UFC. He dropped a couple of his bouts. I mean, he's 0-2 in the UFC thus far, both decision losses, but he brought them in both fights. He brought the intensity, he brought the energy. Now, he's going to be fighting Cameron Else, a London cat out here, who lost his last outing to Kyler Phillips, but before that, man, he was on a solid 6-fight win streaks, lots of finishes, lots of knockouts, lots of submissions. This is almost certified to be a banger alert right here, like almost certified. So, brother, I want you to tell me a little bit more. Why did this, of all the fun fights on the prelim, stick out to you as a sleeper for UFC Vegas 52?
You're right, brother. This one's almost certified to be a banger unless something crazy happens and we see a snooze fest. But really, with these two, I don't see it happening, man. I picked this fight because both Richie Lang and Cameron Else, they were highly touted coming in, expecting to make big moves when they got to the UFC, and then sure enough, fell a little bit short. Especially Richie Lang, I feel like he's had a little bit more of a harder path to toll, although at the same point, you know, Cameron Else facing off against the Matrix Kyler Phillips, first fight in, that is a hell of a roll to toll. But Richie Lang, he feels like he's been in some wars and just hasn't necessarily got the moves right correctly, man. Both of these fighters, very fast, heavy on the front foot, attacking all the time, big bombs, they're down for wars. Fast interactions, man. This one's going to be a crazy fight, man. Up and down. Cameron Else can fight in the exact same way, man. All pressure, big bombs, up and down, on the ground. Doesn't really matter, man. We saw it in the Kyler Phillips. He's willing to take this wherever he can. He just got a little bit out-controlled. And I think I'm pretty sure it was a late fight replacement against the Kyler Phillips fight for Cameron Else. But either way, now that he has a full camp, now he's able to see kind of what's going on in the big show. So I think coming up on this next fight for both of these fighters, it's going to be one of those ones that's really a prove it or shut up kind of fight, especially for Richie Lang. You can't go on that 3-fight losing streak. And the same thing for Cameron Else, even though it's only the second fight, you can't drop 2 in this division or else you're going to get left behind, man. The 135-pound class is flying through, and I do see a lot of potential in these cats fighting forward, but they really need to prove it. And Dana White or the matchmaker, Sean Shelby, whoever it was, match these two up for fireworks, man. I think that's what we're going to see. A lot of pressure, heavy volume, big shots landing. This one's going to be a fun one to write home about. Derick, how you feeling about this fight?
Well, I agree with just about everything that you said, but the one takeaway that I wanted to remind everybody about is that Cameron Else has never seen a third round in his short MMA career. Richie Lang has. Now, he's won some decisions, he's lost some decisions, but that's kind of the key that I'm taking away from here. When you got 2 nonstop pressure fighters, in-your-face fighters who are going to bring it, and one of them hasn't seen a third round, well, the advantage to me goes to Richie Lang. So if this is short, I could see it happening for either fighter. If this goes long, I definitely think Richie Lang is going to have that war of attrition advantage. However, we have seen him gas out in the third round in both of his fights in the UFC thus far. So this should be a fun fight. Once again, certified banger alert. And that's a fun way to kick off the prelims. Now, it's not the first fight of the prelims, but you know what I mean. But I also want to give you guys a heads up that are listening and watching at home. AJ and I believe on the UFC Vegas 51 for our sleepers, we had back-to-back sleepers, and both of them ended up being fun fights, brother, bangers. I'm pretty positive, right? This is another case. These are back-to-back sleepers that we have here. So, folks, for my sleeper, I have a fun one. I have the return of Tyson Pedro. I have a return of a light heavyweight monster who, I mean, let's be honest, he suffered some adversity. He suffered a real bad knee injury, tore his ACL, and then ended up re-injuring his meniscus after when he fought Shogun Rua back in 2018. Has been out for literally like 4 years, missed COVID, missed everything, man. He has been out of mind, out of sight. Everybody is looking at Tyson Pedro like, who is this new UFC cat? This dude is not new by any stretch of the imagination. Has wins over Paul Craig, knocked him out. Submitted Khalil Roundtree. I mean, come on, this dude has guillotine choke, rear naked choke. He gets you to the ground, he ground and pounds you, he either knocks you out, or he takes your back and chokes you out. It's one of those two options. And who does he get a lovely UFC return against? Well, none other than Ike Villanueva. One of my favorites to do it because he's a walk forward, boxing intensive, quick slickster 205er. Now, the problem is going to become if Tyson Pedro decides he wants to take the fight to the ground, which he most likely will, to shake the cobwebs off. It's going to be a very short night for Ike Villanueva, but it's going to feel like a long night inside of the cage. I like the prospects of this fight, but Tyson Pedro does have a height advantage of 2 inches, a reach advantage of 6 inches. I kind of think this is a little bit of a gimme fight for Tyson Pedro in his return, but what makes this as a sleeper is that Ike Villanueva, I'm almost positive, was cut from the UFC. You get your short notice return. Hey, come on down, brother. Come back into the big show and come take this gimme fight for us real fast. Do us a favor. And when you're fighting for your contract, when you're fighting for your, at the highest level, your professional career, well, I think we're going to see a different level of intensity by Ike Villanueva. I think he's going to be trying to take Tyson Pedro's head and knock that thing out into the bleachers. So for that reason, this is a 205 bout that is going to be quick. It's going to have some power behind it. It's not going to be as quick as a bantamweight bout, but I will tell you this is going to be a fun fight, and I cannot wait for the fight. I cannot wait for the return of Tyson Pedro. AJ, do you know anything about Tyson Pedro? When you saw this bout, did you be like, oh, that's just a random name scrolling down, or what do we think? What do you make of this?
I won't lie to you, Derick. I forgot for a second, and then I started doing some research, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Tyson Pedro's back, man!
Yeah.
This dude's an absolute killer." And I agree with you. Somewhat of a smash spot for Tyson Pedro, but now that Ike Villanueva, is sees, he's like, okay, if he was cut and now he's coming back, a little bit no pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't have the pressure worrying about it. He can get one on, and he's gonna fight like a dog. And if there's ever a dog to do it, man, Villanueva is the guy to get it done. This is gonna be a fun one.
I absolutely agree there. So, folks, those are your featured sleepers for UFC Vegas 52. And with that being said, let's get straight to it. Let's talk about Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, brother. So, the big storyline here, you have number 10 ranked Amanda Lemos versus the flyweight number 1 ranked Jessica Andrade. So once again, this is why I kind of ask, is this too quick of a step up? I mean, lest we forget what Jessica Andrade did to Caitlin Chikagian when they fought. Lest we forget what she did to Cynthia Calvillo when they fought. I mean, listen, she lost to Rose Namajunas. She got beat up by Zhang Weili, but I'm saying Jessica Andrade is the real deal former champion. Now, Amanda Lemos is no slouch, brother. I mean, she got the split decision nod against Angela Hill, but there's the two difference in styles, the clashes of styles. Amanda Lemos, tall, stout, stand firm, plant her feet and knock you the hell out. Jessica Andrade, Mike Tyson, in your face. Here's the big difference, AJ. At flyweight, I didn't see Jessica Andrade with all of that head movement. That Mike Tyson style kind of gone, and she was more of follow you, stalk you, and knock you out. Now, at strawweight, when she fought Rose Namajunas last, she had that impeccable head movement. Does that return against Amanda Lemos in her strawweight debut?
Oh yeah, I don't think she's changing anything, man. She's seen such success with that kind of peekaboo style head movement, staying guard high. I think it keeps going, especially because she has those power uppercuts, man. Those power uppercuts and those hooks that she can throw. There's something else, man. Those are something that female fighters haven't really felt yet, and I think it sticks with her on this one.
Now, what's interesting to me is that Jessica Andrade opened up as a minus 175 favorite with a plus 150 comeback for Amanda Lemos. Now, when you're a former strawweight champion, when you have as many knockouts as Jessica Andrade does, she has 9 knockouts in her 22 wins, 7 submissions, right? I would imagine she'd be a bigger favorite. So it's a little surprising to me to see that Amanda Lemos is garnering this much respect from the odds makers. However, this is how I see the fight playing out, AJ. I have basically this one vision who has been keep flashing in my mind when I envision how this fight is playing out. Jessica Andrade is stalking forward. She's pressuring Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos doesn't fight that great when she's off the back foot. However, Jessica Andrade against Cynthia Calvillo in her last fight, when she's throwing the big power shots, she's dropping her hands. She's just firing from the hips, shotgun blast from the hips, saying, I'll eat your punches. She ate a bunch of nasty jabs from Calvillo, ate it, returned it, and her power was too much, and she relied on her chin. If she relies on her chin against Amanda Lemos, I think that is the one spot where I can truly see Amanda Lemos notching a clear upset, a knockout upset, like a devastating upset, because when she sits down, and she is a counter striker, when she sits down on her shots and she swings fully through, man, I mean, there's not too many people who could take the power of Lemos on this one. So do you think Jessica Andrade comes out conservative, or do you think that she's not going to respect the power of Amanda Lemos and just try to walk through her?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I don't think she's going to respect the power of Lemos until she starts to feel it, man. Because you're right, Amanda Lemos, she's tall. She has that Muay Thai style to sit there and be hit and then come back and clack you down. But that's the thing, man. Amanda Lemos, she can get tagged. She can get tagged up. And in that fury, in that chaos that Jessica Andrade possesses, I think it's a yin and yang. It's a gift and a curse for both fighters on this one. Both fighters can be hit. Both fighters can hit hard, and that's what makes this one super exciting.
So let me ask you this, AJ. The best win that Amanda Lemos has in her short MMA career, her short UFC career, I should say. She only has 6 fights in the UFC. Her best win is Angela Hill, right? And let's just go for her last 5. Her best win is Angela Hill. And Jessica Andrade, her worst win, Caitlin Chikagian, right? She only won 2 of her last 5, right? But Caitlin Chikagian, right? Let's look at who she's fought, though. Cynthia Calvillo, Valentina Shevchenko for the title, Caitlin Chikagian, Rose Namajunas for the title, Zhang Weili. I don't think that was for the title. No, that was for the title. She lost her title. Yes, okay, that makes more sense. So she lost the title to Weili. She fought Namajunas in a rematch. No title was on the line there. Okay, there we go. Either way, come on, brother. The skill gap, the level of competition is completely different here. So aside from the scenario that I just popped up, what other methods to victory do you see Amanda Lemos being able to attain? Who's the first to shoot in this fight?
I don't know, man. That's a good question because first to shoot's hard. I think Lemos has a little bit more ego to her that's not going to allow her to want to shoot right away. So I'm leaning towards Andrade when I think of it first. But I mean, Andrade hurts with one of those big power, then you kind of got nothing else to do. So I'm thinking Andrade shoots first to kind of keep the mix-up going, especially being on the front foot fighter. Who do you think?
I think Lemos shoots first. And the reason why is because if you're Andrade, yes, you got the submission specialty. I got her card up behind me, you know what I mean? Submission specialist, right? She wants to knock you out, brother. You know that's going to be the game plan. She's going to fight the bully of the strawweight division. She's going to bully her, I think, in my opinion. But then again, I keep telling you the story. Saw Jessica Andrade over at that Fuji tournament just ragdolling people with her jiu-jitsu, brother. So she might be able to mix it up a little bit. Either way, I think that she's going to be looking to take away the primary strength of Amanda Lemos, which is the striking, the Muay Thai striking style of Amanda Lemos. So with that being said, AJ, now we come into over and unders and we come into props. So the over and under for this fight is 2.5 rounds. This is a 5-round fight. The over and under is 2.5. So the odds makers think somebody's getting knocked out. Now, when we're talking props, this is what I wanted to bring up to you. Amanda Lemos via KO plus 400. I mean, let's think about it. Andrade, she's been knocked out 4 times. It's not like she can't be knocked out. She can't, you know what I mean? Everyone has a button on it. But Andrade knockout plus 225. Now, the one that I thought was really interesting is that Andrade on points plus 250. So I think that the odds makers think that Andrade via decision might be a likely outcome in this matchup. What do you like more, Andrade via KO or Andrade via points?
I was going already Andrade via points. Okay. I think that's kind of the more likely outcome. Just because both of these fighters swinging for each other's heads, usually when you go for that knockout, you're not finding it. You know, you're a little too focused on it. You're not really in the flow state. So I think Andrade by points sounds a little bit better to the ear. But at the same point, man, knockouts can happen. I'm just leaning towards decision. Excuse me. What about you?
I'm actually leaning towards Andrade via knockout. I'm going via knockout on either one of these fighters. I think Amanda Lemos, she gassed out in 3 rounds against Angela Hill in their last fight. This is 5 rounds, brother. I mean, come on. This is a different story here. Andrade, does she ever really gas out? Like really, truly gas out? You don't really see it too often. And we look at her last wins, right? First round knockout against Calvillo, first round knockout against Chikagian, second round knockout against Namajunas, first round knockout against Kovacevic, decision against Tisha Torres, decisions against Claudia Gadelha, decision Angela Hill, submission, first round Joanne Wood, knockout Jessica Penne, second round. I mean, I can go on forever, brother. I mean, she's getting people out of there early. Besides a couple of decisions, she's knocking you out. Why would this change against Amanda Lemos when she's done this against higher echelon opposition? Look at the names that I just read off, brother. You feel me? Is Amanda Lemos, yes, she's the new hot commodity, 6 fights into the UFC, doing really, really well against decent opposition, but I just named off a hit list to you, did I not?
Oh, yeah. But to me, what it does is the style that Lemos has of that Muay Thai, I'm going to stand heavy on my back foot, light front foot, and we're just going to stand here and bang it out. Yeah. I feel like she's used to the power, used to the pressure, and more accustomed because the fighting style she has to fight against pressure fighters like that. Stand there, take the heat. I think she'll be a little bit more accustomed to it, and then we'll see the fight get drawn out a little longer. That's why I'm going with decision right there. But like I said, man, I can see knockouts happening from either of these fighters.
Okay, well, this is where we're going to leave it at. AJ, who do you got? You got decision. You got Andrade by decision?
I got Andrade by decision, brother.
All right, bro. Hey, I'm going Andrade knockout. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Let's get it. No disrespect to Amanda Lemos. I really do. I think she's very talented. But like I said, I just think that there's levels, like you said earlier, and I think Jessica Andrade is being discounted here. So if you can get Andrade at that discounted rate of minus 175 for the money line, or if we're talking about points, plus 250 knockout, plus 225, I would jump all over that personally. I just think that there's not too many times you get a smash spot like this, for the low price that Jessica Andrade is at. So with that being said, folks, that is our main event pick right there. Jessica Andrade probably going to use the pressure, trying to put Lemos on the back foot. Lemos, she got the counter striking. Andrade probably got the grappling chops over her a little bit, man. I mean, this is going to be a fun fight. We'll leave it at that. All right, AJ. Clay Guida, Claudio Puelles, lightweight contest, and Clay Guida is the odds makers betting favorite at minus 135, plus 115 comeback for Puelles. At this point, AJ, I'm going to be honest with you, I just kind of feel like Puelles continuously gets disrespected. He was in his last fight against Chris Gritsmacher, and he knee-barred him in the third round. That entire fight, when he was fighting Gritsmacher, DC was kind of, dogging him a little bit, saying his wrestling shots were atrocious. Now, were they? I mean, yeah, kind of. But it was effective nonetheless. He still got the job done. He fought Jordan Levitt. He beat him when nobody thought anybody. I mean, I bet against him. I picked Levitt in that fight, and he ended up winning. I mean, listen, he's on a 4-fight win streak since dropping his UFC debut to Martin Bravo, which was a championship fight in the lightweight division. Brother, I mean, disrespect after disrespect. However, it's easy to write you off when you're fighting the Carpenter Clay Guida, who's coming off of one hell of a comeback victory against Leo Santos, where he basically used his head as a punching bag to tire out the arms of Santos to then end up destroying him in the second round. Now, if he didn't win that last fight, AJ, he would have been on a 2-fight losing streak. Nonetheless, a win is a win is a win. How does that momentum translate into this Puelles fight?
I think it translates heavy, especially because the Marco Manson split decision, depends on how you saw that fight. I saw that go into Guida, man. I thought Guido should be on a 3-fight winning streak, and I think mentally he thinks the same way. So I think all this momentum that he's been going against his young guns is just piling up, keeping him pushing, keeping him going, keeping Clay Guida young, man. I mean, yes, he's 40 years old, but this dude has all the energy we've seen him fight since day one. Since that Hall of Fame fight with Diego Sanchez, man, he hasn't changed a single step, man. Still power, still pressure, still all the crazy antics that Clay Guida has. I think all this momentum that he's had since the Bobby Green fight is really pushing him forward, man. I like Clay Guida in this fight, but at the same point, I agree with you, Derick. Claudio Puelles has been disrespected basically since day one, and yeah, the shots were bad, but they were effective. They were still getting his opponent Gritsmacher down and still doing what the job intended to do. They just weren't as pretty as one of the greatest wrestlers to do it in DC. So I agree. He has been disrespected, and he can win this fight. I even had to look at the odds on this one because this could be a good fight, man. This could be a close fight. Excuse me. It's going to be a good fight. Could be a close fight. Either way, man, I'm excited to see how this one gets down. How you feeling about this one, Derick? When you look at this, how do you see it unfolding?
Well, I like the fight. I think that overall, Clay Guida can win this fight. I see a clear path to victory for him if he's able to take what Gritsmacher did to Puelles in their last fight, and I believe round 2 or round 3, and just use the top control, use the heavy wrestling style, and just try to stay in that half guard and hold Puelles down for 3 rounds. I think he can get a win. Now, Claudio Puelles, the problem with his style is that he's so comfortable on his back. He's willing to accept the position and start working his jiu-jitsu. Now, that could work in one of 2 ways. You can be ineffective and you can just get kind of stalled out, or you can do something miraculous like he did against Chris Gritsmacher and pull out a vicious knee bar, pull out an arm bar, pull out something, let him play in the guard. Clay Guida has been finished 3 times in his miraculous, I don't even know how many fights this dude has total, 37 plus 18. That's a lot. We'll just say it at that. He's only been finished 3 times in his career, which is pretty incredible. Or maybe not. I might have that wrong. AJ, am I wrong there?
Pull it up.
See, look at that. Look at that, folks. This is the one. You can't disrespect Clay Guida by giving him more or less losses than are absolutely necessary. So, okay, I take it back. He's been submitted 8 times. That's a little more apt, right? It's been submitted, because I was like, I have seen him getting choked out a bunch. He has been submitted 8 times, and he's been knocked out twice. So he's been finished 10 times, and he's miraculous still. 40-plus fight career, right? So Puelles by submission, can I see it happening? Absolutely. However, I mean, come on, brother. This is a veteran who he's seen just about everything there is to see. Do you think the young gun is going to pull out some magic tricks? No, you just got to be good at what you do. So what it comes down to in this fight, in my opinion, AJ, is Clay Guida taking one of two approaches. Do you think that he'll say, we're going to keep this fight on the feet because I'm a great wrestler and I can, Chuck Liddell style, right? I'm going to use my wrestling instead of taking you down. I'm going to force you to fight me on the feet and get Claudio Puelles in a kickboxing match. Would you see that as advantageous for the Carpenter?
I would, man. That's because that's the question I had for Puelles is how good is this dude's hands? They looked a little not amateur, but just not as sharp as I was expecting Puelles to come out. And it was the same thing with his takedowns. They just weren't as good. Sure, they were effective. They just weren't as crisp as the rest of the division. So that's what I'm curious to see, man. He has a huge test in front of him. How good is Puelles' stand-up going to be? Because I think Clay Guida out-wrestles him all day long, man. How good do you think Puelles' stand-up actually is, Derick?
I think his stand-up is sharp, man. I mean, he's got that laser beam of a left hand that he brings down the pipe. He's got those beautiful snapping head kicks. But this is the one thing that I want to take from this last fight against Santos. What did Santos hurt Guida with in the last fight? A liver kick, right? Just a shot straight to the liver. Well, guess what? Puelles is a southpaw. Guida's orthodox. That liver gonna be open all day long, brother. You don't think Puelles watched that fight and was like, oh, I got myself a new target. I'm just gonna keep kicking that liver until you try to take me down. And once you take me down, all right, it's armbar city, it's rear naked choke city. I mean, listen, he's the only dude right now. I think he has two of the. There's only so many knee bars in UFC history, and he has two of them. So I don't think that Guida's gonna be falling victim to a knee bar. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that this is gonna be an interesting fight. So let's talk over and under right here, brother. Over and under on this fight is 2.5 rounds right here. So, I mean, it could be going long, but when we're talking props, this is the thing that kind of blows my mind. You want some value on Clay Guida because I respect the Carpenter? Well, don't take the money line because the money line is okay. And even though he is favored, that's nice. But you want to take Guida by points, plus 150, brother. How does that sound?
That sounds nice right there because that's his style all day long, man.
And I can see it happening. I mean, aside from the rear naked choke against Santos, which is really more of a fatigue thing than anything else, the majority of his wins come via, decision. Dude's got 15 decision wins. Now against Jim Miller, he was able to submit him. That was pretty nice, I think. Either way. All right, brother. Claudio Puelles, this is the one for me. By submission, plus 450. Brother, I mean, I think I can definitely see Puelles coming away with a submission victory here. It's going to be easier said than done. But plus 450, do you think the oddsmakers just don't believe in it? They think Guida is not going to get submitted? They think that, I mean, what are they thinking here? This dude's literally a jiu-jitsu specialist.
Yeah, exactly. That's wild to me because I think that's Puelles' best way to victory, like his by submissions. That's absolutely so. There's some serious value in that plus 400 because how specialized Puelles is in that, and the way that Guida fights. That seems like his easiest route to me is by submission. So I don't see Puelles doing it stand up knockout. I don't see him outpointing Guida, outworking him. I do see a thing where Guida, we get to the ground and then Puelles snatches something up real quick like that. So that plus 400 right there seems to be a little value to throw a little bit of money down. I mean, even if it is going against the pick I originally thought, there's some serious value right there.
Yeah, regardless, just looking at scenario wise on what could happen in the fight. I mean, I don't know how you can pass that one up. At least throw $5 on it and just see where that takes you. But the last thing that I wanted to note here is that for Claudio Puelles, he's a little more of an accurate striker than Clay Guida is. Guida's a volume guy, right? So Guida lands roughly 48% of his significant strikes, right? Claudio Puelles lands around 66%, brother. So when it comes down to accuracy, that's going to be the big caveat here. Effective striking versus ineffective striking. We'll see what happens, but it's pick time, brother. Who you got in this fight? Over and under is 2.5 rounds. How do you see it playing out?
I'm rocking with Clay Guida, man. Like I said, this one is a close fight, and honestly, I'll be happy to see either of these guys win. I think either of these guys deserve a lot of a more push than they've been getting. Obviously, Guida's an absolute dog. Everybody knows him, but Puelles as well, man. He's a really, really good fighter. But either way, I'm going for Clay Guida, and I'm going by decision. I'm going the distance, man. What about you? Who you going and why?
Okay, folks. So if you like that Guida by points at plus 150, you better rock with my man AJ. Now I'm going against the grain here, and I'm going to rock with Claudio Puelles. And the reason why I'm rocking with Claudio Puelles in this one is because I think that this is youth versus veteranship. This is Claudio Puelles' big test. This is going to be the step. If he wins this fight in definitive fashion, there's no better name to have on your resume than a signature victory over the Carpenter Clay Guida, especially one who feels young and invigorated at 40 years of age. So for Claudio Puelles, he can't get respect over Jordan Levitt when he wins that. He can't get respect over Chris Gritzmacher, who, I mean, everybody was giving respect to people who could beat that man until Puelles did it, and then it didn't really matter. So now it's like, if you can finally get it against the carbon copy of a Chris Gritzmacher, he just fought this fight in his last one, man. This is basically the same fight against Clay Guida. I think that he would get a lot of hype and praise to his name. So I think that this is it. This is it for Claudio Puelles. I'm going Puelles, and believe it or not, even though I like the submission here, I think Clay Guida might be just a tad bit too crafty to avoid the submission by Claudio Puelles. So I will be safe, and I will rock with the over. I'm going to go Claudio Puelles via points, my man. So, I mean, I know that's a crazy thing to go against Guida on the points, but I think that the youth will be able to knock this one out. So I'm going Puelles, AJ going Guida. Should be a fun one. Now, when we're talking about fun fights, AJ, this is a fun one. We have the return of Maycee, the future Barber versus Montana De La Rosa. Now, Maycee Barber is ranked, man. Now, she's fighting Montana De La Rosa, who is unranked. But I do think that this is going to be one of those trap game scenarios right here. Even though Barber opens up as a minus 180 favorite, plus 155 comeback for De La Rosa, I think that Barber has a lot of pressure on her, brother. She went from being this highly touted, you're the next, you're going to be the youngest champion in UFC history, to you drop 2 in a row to Alexa Grasso and Roxanne Modafferi. Had the knee injury, let's not forget that one. And Montana De La Rosa, even though she's been very up and down, right? Lost to Andrea Lee, win against Romero Bojela, lost to Viviano Araujo, draw to Marie Bueno Silva, right? Win against Ariane Lipski. It's like, we're up, down, draw. Where are we going here? Is she really building? Is she getting better? She is, brother. And I think that this is going to be a dangerous fight because De La Rosa is a sick grappler, but her stand-up has been ever improving. She's long, bro. She's lanky. She has a 3-inch reach advantage on Maycee Barber, 68 inches to 65, and a 2-inch height advantage, brother, 5'7" to 5'5". Maycee Barber, she'll move you forward. She'll use the big power. She'll use the striking that she got from Mike Valley over there in Chicago. She'll use the striking that she's picked up over there. So not only can she grapple you, not only can she ground and pound you, but she can drop big bombs on you as well. However, AJ, I think me and you both agree, I don't think she won that last fight against Miranda Maverick. I think Miranda Maverick edged it out in a split decision. So, given that you're lacking the credibility in your last win against Montana De La Rosa here, what approach is the best approach to fight De La Rosa? Because if you want to grapple her, De La Rosa is going to welcome that. She's going to say, okay, let's grapple. If you're going to strike with her, De La Rosa is long and lanky. She has a nice, crispy jab. What's the best approach to take if you're a Maycee Barber here?
Yeah, I'm with you, Derick, because I see the striking as a wash. I see this one where the striking of Montana De La Rosa, the long counter strikes, the long range, staying at distance, that works really, really well, especially with Maycee Barber, who's going to be pushing forward, who's going to be going, but her hands can get a little sloppy. She can leave her hands down, and she's open to those counter strikes. Sure, Maycee Barber's the bully in there. She's going to be pushing forward. But at the same point, when you have somebody pushing forward consistently all day long, they step off that sideline and come back and crack you one. That's what Montana De La Rosa is best at. Personally, man, this was a real hard fight for me to kind of see how it goes down, because who's better on the ground? Maycee Barber's really, really good, but so is Montana De La Rosa, almost more of a specialist. But when you have Maycee Barber on you and you have all that full pressure, that weight, and she's coming down with strikes, she's going smash season, it's a hard one to go because she has a gas tank, man. She's got a huge gas tank, and she can keep that pressure going. Likes to pick up as the fight goes. So you think, okay, I got one on her in first round, and then she starts picking up second round, third round. Maycee Barber still on that horse, still going. It's a determining factor, man. So me personally, I think Maycee Barber, stay on the front foot, get the fight to the ground. It's a little risky. It's a little risky. Maybe stay on the front foot, strike, dip out, and then keep that pressure going. Stay up against the cage. You don't want to go to the ground against Montana De La Rosa. But even Maycee Barber, she does, and she holds her down and then beats her up. That's a motivational boost and a really, really good win. Well, how do you see this fight breaking down, Derick?
Well, I see Maycee Barber doing what she does best, using that jab and then that lead, or that jab and then that rear hand power. Well, either way, because she's a switch fighter, she can do it orthodox or southpaw. I see her using that to push Montana De La Rosa against the fence, using that bully style, trying to outpower her. And then I honestly see her using a lot of clinch work, getting her down to the ground and trying to TKO her. But that's where I see the danger in this matchup, because I think she can get overzealous with trying to just throw bombs on the ground, get reversed, and then get choked out by Montana De La Rosa. Like, Montana De La Rosa honestly was a submission specialist coming into the UFC who has slowly got her striking up to par as time has gone on. It's not like she came in as this well-rounded fighter. She did come in more or less as a specialist. She's only been knocked out once, only been submitted once, right? So it's like when it comes down to durability, she's there, brother. I mean, she's the full package. I really think Montana De La Rosa is a sleeper fighter. She doesn't get the respect that she deserves, but she's always a tough outing. And you know she's more confident than ever before, because in her last win against Ariane Lipski, she took her to the ground and she smashed her elbows, punches, the whole nine, man. Got her bloody, got her nasty, and just made her look like she did not want to be there at all. But then again, the frame of Ariane Lipski at 125 pounds versus Maycee Barber at 125 pounds, I think those are two drastically different 125 pounders. So when it comes down to the strength battle, I think Maycee Barber got that one in the bag. I just think that Maycee Barber needs to not be reckless. She has to be very strategic and very careful here if she does want to take the approach that she's tried and true for, man. She's 23 years old, brother. She's so young. That's the problem. Montana De La Rosa, 27, a little bit older, more experienced, right? She has, 19 career fights, and it looks like she has 8 fights in the UFC. Barber has 6 fights in the UFC. This is going to be an interesting one to play out, and I would not count out Montana De La Rosa. I do apologize, because there are no prop odds currently up for the Barber De La Rosa fight, but I wonder what De La Rosa by submission would be. I think it would be pretty lofty odds, and I would like that one. Either way, AJ, who do you have in this one? Over and under is 2.5 rounds.
Oof, man, this one is another coin toss for me, Derick. I can see both of these fighters winning, especially like you said, that Montana De La Rosa by submission. That's something to look into and see, kind of, especially when the fight gets closer, see how that one unfolds. I think this fight's going to come down to who's the better fighter that night. Mm-hmm. I think at 10 fights, this one's going to be split pretty close down the middle. So I'm choosing the favorite. I'm going Barber, and I'm going by decision. But like I said, man, I can also see Montana De La Rosa getting that dub. Who you going with and why?
As much as I want to go Maycee Barber via knockout early rounds, I just respect the chin of De La Rosa, the toughness of De La Rosa. And the last time that she was finished, man, I couldn't tell you. It's not her last fight for sure, man. So I'll roll with Maycee Barber via decision on this one. Tough fought. I do think that we will see Barber in a little bit of trouble in the fight, but I think she'll be able to overcome that. So I'm rolling Maycee Barber via decision. Both of us got Barber on the board. Should be a fun one. So, folks, I do actually apologize, because now we're already how far into the show. I didn't drop a TLDR earlier, man. I had it propped up. I just forgot to press the button on it. So, sorry, folks. We'll do it next time. All right, AJ. Let's move on to the next one, AJ. Sumudaerji versus Manel Kape. Brother, this is going to be a technical bout. It's going to be a very technical bout. This is going to be a fun fight. But this is the issue that I have here, my man. These are two hot flyweight prospects, brother, who are, I guess I shouldn't even say prospects, I should say contenders, right? Sumudaerji has been in a little less action as of late, and Manel Kape is finally finding his rhythm, his groove in the UFC. We haven't really seen it because, I mean, to be honest, he had against Pantoja and Nicolau, I mean, he got thrown into the deep water really quickly, kind of leveled out when he fought some of the lesser ranked fighters, I guess I should say, unranked fighters, Ode Osborne's, Zaga Zumagulov. Even though they're tough fighters, that's not Nicolau and Pantoja. That's not the same level. Sumudaerji, he's been fighting the Malcolm Gordons, who has had a resurgence as of late. The Zaruk Adashevs, Luis Smolkas, Andrei Sukumtoths. I mean, both of these dudes have experience, but Manel Kape is clearly the more established, former champion in Rising, more experienced. All right, this is what it comes down to, AJ. Sumudaerji, long, lanky, 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. Going to hit you with some of the most spectacular kicks you've ever seen. But then again, Manel Kape knows how to get on the inside, probably one of the fastest fighters we've seen in our day. Get on the inside, get his combos down, get back out on the outside, and just keep it pushing. Both of these dudes land roughly 4.5 significant strikes per minute, so it's like they're there. Accuracy is almost the same, 52% to 54%. Carbon copies of each other, except Sumudaerji is the long, lanky fighter. Manel Kape is the more stout, quick, in-and-out fighter. I don't know where to go with this, AJ. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know where to go with this. Like, when I visualized it in my head, I could see both the dudes winning spectacularly. So when I have a situation like this, sometimes you want to kind of revert to the betting odds. But when I see the betting odds, I'm like, okay, Manel Kape's the favorite. But should he be the favorite? He's just fighting the longer, lankier dude. Should he be the favorite? So betting odds aside, in your mind, who's the favorite in this fight?
I'm going Manel Kape as well, but just by barely because of the recent resurgence he's had, the recent comfortability he's found in the UFC. When he came in, man, when Starboy came into the league, man, I was like, oh, this dude's gonna be on top of the game. We're seeing a new contender, coming in out of Ryzen. Fell off, had a stumble, but now he's back and he's kind of back to his normal ways that we were seeing him fight in Ryzen. Now, Sumudaerji, this dude, he's killer, man. He's a real deal, man. I love the length of him. I love that striking style. He just hasn't been as active. And as far as the hit list goes, not as impressive. But, man, this dude can absolutely crack. And this one is a stylistic matchup that's interesting to see. Both fighters are really, really good in the stand-up. Sumudaerji has that long counter striking. You have Kape coming in. He's a short blitz burst kind of guy that's going to get on the inside, and he's very good at getting on the inside. So whoever wins those battles, I think, is going to be winning the night, obviously. But at the same time, it's one of those ones where you can see the length of Sumudaerji. So it's not that it's easy to avoid, but it's hard to keep getting close because he's so long and he keeps poking at you, keeps driving those front kicks, those jabs. And the same thing with Kape. Yeah, he's got to get on the inside, and when he does, it's dangerous. But Sumudaerji's long. He can keep him at bay. He can keep him ineffective. This one, I can see where the trouble comes because I also had the same one. Like, how exactly does this unfold? My big question is, how will Sumudaerji stop the pressure and the wrestling of Kape coming forward? Is he going to be able to land some knees, some uppercuts, keep those tip kicks away? Will that be the case? Or are we going to see Manel Kape right to those hips, take him down, ground and pound finish? What do you think?
Well, if this was a typical Orthodox versus Southpaw fight, I probably would say Sumudaerji would have no problem keeping him at bay. But being that they're both Southpaws, I think it's going to make it tricky for both guys, which is why this is going to be such a technical chess match of a fight. I think that, in all honesty, this might not be the most exciting fight in the world. I think it should be. On paper, it should be. But honestly, it's like these dudes are so technical. They're probably going to be doing a lot of feints, a lot of just watching each other in the mirror, kind of just trying to set traps. Sumudaerji is infamous for setting traps. He'll throw a combination who he doesn't expect to land, set you up for something so that he can utilize that like 2 rounds later. And he did that perfectly against his fight against Zaruk Adashev, where he was setting him up. He was throwing this jab, fading away, and coming up with a check hook every single time. And it wasn't working. Rounds 1 and 2 didn't work. When it got to that round 3, clipped him perfectly right there on the button. So I think that Manel Kape is a little too smart for that. Manel Kape's not going to fall for the okie doke. But then again, Manel Kape needs to set up his own traps for Sumudaerji. Either way, I don't see a finish happening in this fight, unfortunately. But I do see a very close, once again, this is going to be close to like the Nicolau fight, right? Where it was just like, how do you score it? I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. 2 rounds to 1. I see this being the case on this one. Honestly, I don't think that this bout is being respected the way that it should. I think that this bout should garner a lot of respect. This could be a co-main event, in my opinion, personally. But because they're flyweights, that's probably why it's so low on the docket. Either way, AJ, there is no prop bets for this one either, but the over and under is 2.5 rounds. The winner of this fight, I honestly believe, will be in that number 7, number 8 range come the Tuesday rankings, given how talented these contenders are. Who do you have winning this fight, and how are they going to win it?
I'm going with Kape on this one, man. I think he's going to come out hot. He's going to come out like he has, because when he doesn't, he loses. And I think seeing his record, if he's able to see that, he's going to come out hot. He's going to not let the traps be effective of Sumudaerji and be able to push that pressure and stay on his game, fight his fight that night. That's what I'm hoping for. But I can also see Sumudaerji with those counters, man. There's nothing to scoff at. But like I said, I'm going Manel Kape, and I'm going by decision. Who you going with and why, Derick?
As much as people are making this out to be like Manel Kape is going to steamroll Sumudaerji, like Manel Kape is just going to come in and assert his will, and that's it. And it's just going to be easy money in the park on this one. I don't see that happening. I actually think Sumudaerji is going to hurt Manel Kape bad, and I think Manel Kape is going to be able to overcome, once again, maybe Maycee Barber-esque, like I was talking about earlier, overcome that and get the victory. But I do think he will have to suffer through a little bit of adversity first. So I think Manel Kape gets it done, but I think Sumudaerji is going to leave everybody with with a good impression. He's going to leave everybody saying that, okay, this dude is fucking legit. He's the real deal. Nonetheless, I'm going Manel Kape. I'm going decision on this one. It's going to be such a technical fight. I don't see a finish happening here. So should be a fun one. Okay, AJ, I don't have much to say on this one. I'm going to be honest with you. You got the big dog, Alexandr Romanov, my man, and he takes on short notice replacement Chase Sherman, who actually just got cut from the UFC. But when you're a company man, the company will do great things for you and bring you back. Now, AJ, I talk about odds a lot on this program. We do. This is part of the show. Minus 1450 is Alexandr Romanov with the plus 950 comeback for Chase Sherman. Anytime you see somebody near that plus 1,000, it's almost like it's suggested that you should probably throw some money on there just in case. Like the worst case scenario, you come up big. You throw $5 on this. I can't even imagine what you're making on that because $100 gets you $950 back. What does $5 get you? I'm not sure. Either way, path to victory for Chase Sherman here against Alexandr Romanov. AJ, give me any remotely possible path to victory.
Stay on your horse and don't let this dude get close to you.
But even still, how do you even win on that? Like, I just feel like you can hit Alexandr Romanov with a fucking sledgehammer, and it's just it's gonna bounce off him. Like, I'm just saying, size discrepancy. He's the shorter man. He's 6'2". But bro, he doesn't even fit the headshot frame, brother. He's just so thick, so massive. And someone going to clip that out and then use that as a soundbite right there, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, brother, 4-0 in the UFC. In his fight against Juan Espino, we did see some flaws there. We did see some. I don't even. What do you call that? What do you make of that debacle? What that was the Juan Espino fight?
I mean, besides all the low blows ending in the technical decision, I think we saw exactly the game plan that can beat Alexandr Romanov. Stay at a distance, keep kicking those legs, keep kicking, basically point fight this man and don't let him grab you, because the second he does and the second he gets to the ground, he's unleashing those haymakers, those King Kong hands. But I think if Sherman is able to stay present of mind, stay loose and elusive and slip in those shots, he might be able to get some done. But that's not really Chase Sherman's style, man. That's the problem. Chase Sherman, he's a banger. He's out there to brawl. He's the bare knuckle guy, So he's not. His style and his mind isn't going to allow him to be the lanky, stay light on the back foot or stay light on the front foot, just kick all day long, like Juan Espino, man. So this one, it's hard. Actually, what's crazy is I looked last night. It was plus 1,200 for Chase Sherman. So they might be seeing something that dropped those odds a little bit. But I agree. That's something you throw $5 on, $10 on, just in case.
Yeah. Listen, brother, Chase Sherman. That's why we love him, because he's a banger. He goes in there to scrap. He's not afraid to scrap. He's not afraid to take on Alexandr Romanov on short notice, brother. I mean, it shows the gall of this man, the balls on him. But then again, if Romanov gets into any scenario in this tiny Vegas Apex octagon that they're going to be in, and he grabs you, that's basically the beginning of the end. I'm a big fan of Chase Sherman, brother, and I've always wished him well. I wished him success on here. It sucks because he's 3-8 in the UFC. He's lost his last 2 decisions to Parker Porter and Andrei Arlovsky. He got finished against Jake Collier in his last fight, rear naked choke. Now, he did knock out Ike Villanueva. He did knock out, I think, Randy Jackson, I think something like that, right? But either way, my man, Romanov, this is too big of a hill to overcome. I think Juan Espino had the frame and the power to be able to kind of like nullify Romanov for the time being, get him a little tired. But Chase Sherman, given that he's such the reason I say small is relative to Romanov. I mean, Chase Sherman is a light, hybrid type heavyweight who I could see fighting at 205, to be honest. Alexandr Romanov is a man who needs to cut down to make 265 because he's such a fucking humongous, just King Kong, brother. I mean, he's the real deal. We've been praising him from the jump. Alexandr Romanov KO round 1. I don't know what else to say, brother. What do you got?
The only thing I could add is /slam/smash round 1. Yeah, KO Romanov, man. That's big shoes. All credit to Chase Sherman for taking this fight, because this is probably one where they made 5, 6, 7 phone calls and like, all right, let's call somebody we know is a dog. Chase Sherman, here we go.
And I would imagine, don't get me wrong, I have no idea, but I think this could be lucrative for Chase Sherman if he says, okay, I'm going to take the fight, short notice, do the company a favor, but you guys got to sign me 2-3 fights. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just give me one. You got to give me like 2 or 3. So at least I get my foot back in the door. Listen, like I said, no disrespect to Chase Sherman. This is just how much high praise I have for Alexandr Romanov. So the over and under on this fight is 1.5 rounds. I'm clearly taking the under. First round KO. So If you want to see smash, tune into this fight. But Alexandr Romanov, I want to see him tested against some of the real deals. Come on, brother. I mean, obviously his opponent fell out, so you can't blame him, right? And let's just take a look really quickly on who he was originally supposed to fight. It was Tanner Boser.
Tanner Boser.
But actually, Romanov was a short notice replacement, replacing Boser's original opponent. So I don't remember who Boser was supposed to fight. But either way, man.
Rodrigo Nascimento.
Okay. Let's get a step up, brother. Come on, let's step it up a little bit. All right. We'll move on from that one. All right, last bout, or I guess I should say first bout of the main card. Groovy Lando Vannata is making his second appearance in the featherweight division against Charles Air Jourdain. Brother, this is a fun fight, and believe it or not, my man, Charles Jourdain is actually the favorite in this fight. Now, does he get a lot of love and a lot of hype because he's an exciting performer? I mean, he's an entertainer through and through. When he talks about, I was listening to his pre-fight interviews, and he was just kind of talking about how he likes to take punishment, and he likes to overcome his opponents, and he likes to bleed, and he likes to make his opponents bleed. I'm like, you're a warrior, you're a gladiator, you belong back in the day, fighting back then. But groovy Lando Vannata is groovy for a reason, brother. I mean, he's willing to get into the scrap, but he's trying to hit you and not get hit, and that's the key to the success right there. What do you make of Lando Vannata being a plus 115 underdog against Charles Jourdain? Vannata 12-5-2, Jourdain 12-4-1, similar experience. However, I mean, come on, brother. You look at the hit list of both of these fighters, and Lando Vannata is a little more experienced, brother. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see that plus 115. It might be because Lando Vannata is dropping down or is his second fight in the 145-pound division. But if you go again, like you said, man, you go against that hit list. When he was fighting 155, man, groovy Lando Vannata was getting it done. It also might be because Charles Jourdain, he's a fan-friendly fighter, man. He's there. He's always pushing the pace. He has that Muay Thai style where he's going to walk you down, marauder you down. I like the way you said it, Derick. He is that old-school kind of fighter, belongs in biblical times, you know. In fact, when I was breaking this fight down, all I can envision him is one of those like a Roman fighter, you know, gladiator style, just always in there. He has a shield. He has going in. He's always going one direction. But groovy Lando Vannata is creative. And how do you beat somebody who is stiff, rigid, and going powerful one direction? You get creative. You hit him from the side. You go all these routes, man. This is one of those like a movie could be made of the two styles of these kind of fighters, man. I'm sure there had plenty has been, you know, of that stiff, that rigid, the guy who's always going to be the barbarian walking you down versus the younger, you know, the smaller, and I don't think Groovy's younger at all. Yeah, he's definitely the older fighter, but he's still the one you would think of as the smaller, the more creative, the elusive fighter. This one's going to be very fun, man. I'm surprised that Lando Vannata is the underdog, but I can also see why, because of how exciting that Charles Jourdain fights, man. How do you see this one playing out, Dave?
Well, I agree with you in a lot of what you said. It is weird because I have been looking at it like that. I'm like, Charles Jourdain is the 145er. Vannata is dropping down from 155, but I need to see him side by side because Jourdain feels like the bigger man. But I agree. I think that Lando Vannata is going to create angles, going to move in circles, and he's going to be able to pick apart Charles Jourdain because when you're fighting a dude who kind of gets off on taking punishment, right? You know what I mean? Kind of a masochist of his own. I think Lando Vannata is going to take full advantage of that. Now, the question is going to become, is Vannata going to be willing to engage in a war, or is he going to try to pick apart and be technical? We just don't know at this point. His last fight was against a legitimate wrestler in Mike Grundy, and he was able to stop all that. So Charles Jourdain, he's not going to take you down in the first place, but he's a little busier. Speed advantage, Lando Vannata, right?
Yeah. Close, but yeah.
I personally think Lando Vannata has a clear speed advantage. Like when he's throwing combinations, he's throwing punches and bunches. It's quick. Charles Jourdain is much more of a, he's throwing 1-2 big ones, but he's throwing big shots at you. You know what I'm saying? For power, who do you give the power edge to?
I'd probably go Charles Jourdain because of that, because he does throw big power, and he throws straight punches, but they are a little bit labored because he wants to put a little effort behind them.
Grappling. I think we got to give the edge to Vannata on this one, brother, right?
Yeah, Vannata for me.
So that's a little thing that he can keep in his back pocket that he can always resort to if he absolutely needs to, right? Let's say he's getting clipped, he could take Jourdain down, and I'm not going to say he's going to submit him, but he does have 5 career submissions under his belt. So we can't take it out of the realm of possibility. But I will say the odds of a knockout on this one Are they high? Are they low? I mean, Lando Vannata, in his 5 career losses, I don't know how many times he's been knocked out. I'm gonna have to look that up. So while we're talking about that, Charlie, what are the odds of you seeing a knockout on this fight?
I think they're pretty high. They're pretty high, especially because when you have somebody who's super creative, super moving, super going, the holes start to kind of present themselves a little bit more. If you know anything about Charles Jourdain, he's going to see those holes. He's going to attack those holes. He's also creative in his own right. It's two different kind of creativities that both these fighters have. But what I like about these fighters, they're both creative and they're both very, very mean. So the likelihood for a knockout, at least in my book, pretty high. How do you see it?
Well, I see it because I see angles being presented, and I think that both fighters can exploit it. Like you said, Lando Vannata, he has been knocked out 0 times in his career. He's been finished only once, and that was by submission. For Charles Jourdain, he's been knocked out 0 times. He's been submitted only once in his career. So one of these dudes is gonna have to fall. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's gonna be just a fun three-round decision fest. But I think that both of these dudes are gonna be coming for blood. It's gonna be a fun fight. You saw groovy Lando Vannata shave the hair, man. You know what I mean? He's going straight like monk style for this one. Krillin style out of Dragon Ball Z. Let's not forget, like I said it earlier, but this is his second fight at 145 pounds. So Charles Jourdain is clearly more of a veteran in this division. But you got to think the power is going to have to, the power translates, right? You went from 155, you're fighting the big dudes to 145. I think this should be a fun fight. I think that this is going to be the litmus test right here that is going to determine which one of these fighters is going to move to that upper echelon in the 145-pound division. Neither of these fighters are ranked, but this could get you closer to that top 15. Now, who wins, AJ? Why? And how? And all of that, man. Over and under is 2.5 rounds on here. And let me talk some props real fast. Vannata via TKO, plus 550. Charles Jourdain, however, via decision, plus 175. So what do you make of those odds, and who do you have winning?
Man, they're not giving Vannata a chance to get that knockout, huh? Yeah, I mean, and I don't really see it that way either. I'm not going Vannata by knockout, but I am going Vannata by decision. Mm-hmm. I can see Charles Jourdain. I see him more getting the knockout than winning the decision, whereas Vannata can get a knockout, but he's more likely to win the decision. There's value there for sure, but me personally, I just see it going, like I said, the opposite directions. But either way, I'm choosing groovy. I'm going Lando Vannata, and I'm going by decision. I think this one's going to be a creative, fun, very technical fight with some big moments in the middle. And whoever wins this fight or loses this fight doesn't really, I think, matter in the big scheme of things. I think both of these fighters are going to gain a lot of attention, a lot of praise going forward with how this fight goes. Who you going with, the White A?
I'm rolling with groovy Lando Vannata here, and the reason why is because he could strike forward, he could strike backwards, he could strike in circles, left, right, up, down. It doesn't matter. Charles Jourdain, I think, is going to bring heavy pressure, but he's going to maraud a little bit, and I think Vannata is going to take full advantage of that. So I'm going Lando Vannata, and I agree with you. I'm going to go decision here, but I do like that knockout prop at plus 550. Like, come on, brother, if you throw $5 on there and just see where that takes you. I'm just saying, man. I'm not going to say you're going to be right, but I mean the odds are nice on that one. So that is your main card, folks. That is the UFC Vegas 52 main card, and without any further ado, let's talk a little bit of a prelim pour-over, if you don't mind, my man. We probably should have got to it earlier, but I wanted to switch it up. We've been doing it the last couple of weeks, just doing it after the main card, right? So a couple of good fights to look out for, AJ, is I already talked about the Richie Langs, the Tyson Pedros, right? We have Preston Parsons versus Evan Felder, and this is going to be kind of a sleeper fight. So Parsons, he actually lost his UFC debut on short notice to D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. So it didn't really work out for him too well. But this is a dude who is, prior to this, I think he had all first-round finishes. Like, this dude is one of those finisher-type cats. And he's fighting a dude named Evan Felder, who I was just watching some of his highlights, man, and then a couple of his fights. This dude's a finisher as well, my man. Knockouts versus knockouts. Somebody's going to go down. Both of these dudes are going to walk forward. The thing about Evan Felder is he can get you to the ground and pound you for the finish. Preston Parsons, he's more of the stand-up boxing, kickboxing type fighter. Either way, that should be a fun fight. AJ, do you know anything about these fighters, and do you lean either way? Do you have a preference?
Man, I know a little bit more about Preston Parsons than I do Evan Elder, but either way, this one's going to be a fight. I like what you said. This one is very much a sleeper fight. Mm-hmm. A lot of finishes coming from both sides, a little bit more submissions from Parsons, a little bit more knockouts from Elder, but either way, finishers nonetheless, and especially with how young these dudes are in the division, this one's one to look forward to because we're going to see these names coming up quite a few times.
What does it mean to you that the Beverly Hills Ninja and Power Bar are fighting against each other right now? Jourdain Wright versus Marc-Andre Barriult. And Marc-Andre Barriult is taking this fight on short notice as well. Someone is getting knocked out. I find it hard to believe that this fight will end up a decision, which is why it is a featured prelim. And I also believe they're fighting at 190-pound catch weight. So what do you make of this one, brother? Who has the edge in terms of getting the knockout first?
Ooh, someone's going to sleep. I would initially give it to the Beverly Hills Ninja, but man, he's been on a rough one these last couple of rolls, and we've seen him be able to be caught. And if you get caught by Barriult, boy, you taking a nap. So, who am I giving the edge to? I'm going Barriult. I'm going Barriult. It goes against my gut intuition, but I'm going Barriult because, like I said, you get touched a couple times, and Jourdain Wright isn't the best when that happens. You know, he starts to get a little down on himself, and then he opens up a little bit more. Who you giving the edge to?
Well, my gut intuition is Jourdain Wright secures the knockout, but I think Andre Barriult is more than a knockout fighter. He could take you down, he can ground and pound, he can do the whole entire gambit of that. And Jourdain Wright, he's more of that karate style, you know what I mean? Bouncy, looking for that spinning kick, looking for that big knockout shot, that big right hand. So I think if it stays on the feet, give me Jourdain Wright. If it goes to the ground, give me Andre Barriult. I really don't have a pick here, but I do think that knockout isn't coming absolutely on that one. Now, AJ, the last bout that I want to talk about is the body snatcher, Dwight Grant, who's had a little bit of a rough outing himself in his UFC tenure, and he's fighting Sergey Hadosko. And this is a dude, man, who we haven't seen in quite some time, but I'll tell you what, this dude is legit, brother. Lots of experience. He's a knockout artist, but a lot of his fights have come in these kind of weird regional-ish spots, boxing rings and different gloves and Muay Thai shorts, and experience nonetheless. At the highest level, no, but experience nonetheless. Now, Dwight Grant, this is a great opportunity because this is a dude who I don't think is going to be taking down Dwight Grant. This is going to be a straight up war of attrition on the feet. Both of these dudes can knock each other out. I like Dwight Grant in this spot just a little bit more than Hondosko, but I think Hondosko still has an opportunity to cause the upset, especially because it's the out of sight, out of mind. People haven't heard from him in a while, but believe it or not, he's a minus 120 favorite still, brother. So what do you think about this fight?
I like the body snatcher in this one as well. Kind of been a little more relevant. We won't see. I mean, Hadosko, Hadosko hasn't fought since 2019, but the level of fighters they've been trying to pair him up with is very, very high, man. That David Zawada, the Nicholas Dalbys, these people, the UFC matchmakers see this dude come in. You know, they're not pairing him up with any slouches. Same thing with body snatcher Grant, man. He ain't a slouch either. So either way, I think we're gonna have a fun fight. I can see.
Hondosko, brother.
Hadosko. Thank you. I was reading that, butchering it. He has a chance, but I like body snatcher a little bit more in that one, man.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, some of these dudes, they got these rough names, you know. So I mean, we're trying.
Extra letters, bro.
Yeah, we're trying. Some of the silent. It's like, why the letters in there if they silent? I don't know. Either way, should be a fun fight. Last one that I want to talk about before we get out of here, AJ, is Marcin Prachnio versus Felipe Lins. Now, Prachnio, prior to the Khalil Roundtree fight, a lot of people had kind of given him some flack because you touch him on the chin and basically it's over from there. He was able to get it done against Khalil Roundtree, which is a very, very important win. But we also have said historically about Roundtree, it just depends on which version of him shows up that night, because he is an absolute killer when he's on. You know what I mean? When he brings it. He's fighting Felipe Lins. I'm expecting someone to go to sleep in this fight. I mean, this could be a decision fest, could be a boring 205 decision fest, but I imagine somebody going to sleep. Felipe Lins got bombs. Marcin Prachnio, more well-rounded MMA fighter. Who do you like there?
I almost made this my sleeper because I agree with you. Someone is going to sleep in this fight, man. I like Prachnio a little bit more. Felipe Lins, he's been on the rough streak, and I think both these fighters have been on a rough streak, if I remember when I was looking it up correctly. But either way, I think Prachnio is a little bit more of the crisper fighter, you know, a little bit more sharp in there. Whereas Felipe Lins, if I remember correctly, man, he's been a little bit chinny as of late. Oh, man, yeah. Especially against that Tanner Boser fight. You know, Tanner Boser's not the knockout artist we all thought he was, but you get a round one KO, it's real, real rough. Oh, man, I like Prachnio a lot in this fight. It's going to be a fun one. Like you said, Derick, I agree with you. Someone's going to sleep in this one for sure. Who do you like?
Well, let's not forget, you could talk about the chinniness of a Felipe Lins, but Prochnio, man, he dropped 3 in a row. He got knocked out 3 times in a row. Lins, he's been knocked out once in his last 5 fights, right? He lost to Arlovsky and he lost to Boser. I mean, those are not bad losses, but I do agree. Boser's not that knockout king that we necessarily thought he was. However, when Prochnio gets knocked out, it was Sam Alvey, Magomed Ankalaev, and Maycee Rodriguez all in a row. I mean, he does have wins over Khalil Roundtree and Ike Villanueva in his last ones, but yeah, someone's going to sleep. Who? I'm not sure, man, but I think Felipe Lins is going to have a good last effort, because if he drops three in a row, I mean, listen, he might not get the same treatment as Marcin Prochnio. So either way, fun prelim fights to look over for UFC Vegas 52, but clearly the name of the game is the Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade. I mean, that's what we're really tuning in for, but there's still, I mean, groovy Lando Vannata versus Charles Jourdain, the Guida fight. I mean, come on, we got so many good ones right here. You don't want to miss out. Sumudaerji versus Manel Kape. Please do not miss that one. That is just, if you're a true fan of the fight game, you got to tune in. So, folks, with that being said, listen, man, this has been a blast, a pleasure, as always, my man. It feels like as these cards keep going on and progressing throughout the year, we're seeing more and more of these fight of the year contenders. We're seeing more of these under the radar fights. We're starting to truly come to the realization that a UFC does not have to have a number next to it for it to be a great card. Now, AJ, real fast before we get up out of here, I did just want to make note one more time. We do have some like show changes coming up in the future, right? Obviously, we're still trying to progress, get our TLDRs in there. So folks, just work with us. You know, we're still getting it together. We're trying to formulate the absolute best, most strategic game plan to give the folks at home listening what they want and what they deserve, while also making it an intuitive program for us so that we can continue to grow and progress as a program. Make sure our picks are on point. Make sure that we're getting in those prop bets, because I don't only want to track the accuracy of the money line picks, or not even the money line picks, just straight up picks, right? But we also need to see, oh, when we call a KO for a prop bet, oh, did it roll through? I'm pretty sure we didn't really victory lap it too much, but that Andre Fialho, I think I talked about that KO prop being pretty amazing, and what happens, he wins via KO. I'm just saying, so if we can not only be on top of the game in terms of accuracy regularly, but on the prop bet picks, on the money line, on the over and unders, I mean, we really win it. So folks, bear with us, we appreciate you. And lastly, as always, drop a like and subscribe. We had 360 plus right here, man. We're getting to 400 here in just a moment. AJ, man, before we get out of here, any last words for the people?
I think you said it best, folks, and what else could I really say besides you're already tuning into the best breakdown betting odds show. And what's nice about it, man, we still working, we still growing, so leave us a little bit in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to see from the show as well. Share with your friends as always. All the support and all the love does not go unappreciated or unnoticed. We see y'all, and we'll be here again next week, man. This one's going to be a banger of a card, man. I'm super excited for this one. Going to be fun, and as always, Derick, it is fun breaking it down with you too, brother.
Yep, absolutely. And AJ right now, he's up, I think, 3 picks on me right now, man. So he's up in the scoreboard. I got to get it back. I mean, listen, we don't have two different picks this week, so we'll see what happens. Maybe it's a good week, maybe it's a bad one, but I gotta step it up. So folks, it's a competition here too. Don't forget, man, it's a MMA show, a breakdown show, a game show, a competition show, everything all mixed in one. You gotta love it. All right, folks, we will be back on Monday to break it down, the post show of what occurs, the madness this weekend. Until then, we'll catch you next time. Peace.